Hey guys, what's up? I decided to document the process of creating my AI generative works. I already have an idea, but I have no clue what it's going to look like yet, so I'll be recording this in several stages. Let's see what I end up with. I want to create a piece about big data. Neural networks need information to train on. It used to come from books, movies, ads. Basically, the entire internet was scraped. At some point, all the information ever created by humanity will simply run out. And the question becomes, what will neural networks train on then? So I decided to look into the future and imagine a neural network in the form of, like, this guy who's sucking tiny particles of information out of the void. Glitches, fragments of images, maybe pieces of code, and so on, just to gather enough data to keep training itself. And now I need to generate this guy and show how he's pulling that information out of space. Since the piece is about the big data crisis, and the idea that any available information, including glitches and code snippets, gets processed just to squeeze out those last bits of data, I decided to load up my previous works and turn them into collages, which became a whole library of building blocks I'll use to assemble the final images. I've generated a large number of images, and I'm now trying to figure out which direction to go. But either way, we have our main character, a neural network pulling glitches, images, and code out of the void, like I mentioned. Some things I genuinely love. They're really sick. But stylistically, they don't quite match what I'm going for. I'll probably use something like this, but at the very least, I've got some great illustrations to build even a whole series of works. Once I picked the base images for animation, I still had to touch them up in Photoshop. Because, look, this is the first frame. Okay, even if I leave it as is, the second frame looks like this. And there's no visual connection between the two. So for example, here I need to erase something with the eraser tool and reveal this portal that all the data gets sucked into. Anyway, there's work to be done, and once I finish the final keyframes, I'll move on to animation. I ended up with 5 key images, and I touched up each one. In some, I added glitches. In others, I removed elements that would interfere with the animation. This is the sequence they'll appear in. So we've got our story, and it's time to move on to animating in Kling. Here I've set the first and second keyframes, written the prompt. Let's see what comes out. The first take was a mess, which is totally normal with AI because it's far from perfect. Now I need to generate a few more shots, maybe tweak the prompt, and I might even have to change the keyframe images. Because sometimes when Kling sees identical objects in the first and second frame, it just doesn't animate them. Anyway, I went off to figure it out and keep animating. I'm done generating in Kling, spent around 400 credits, and now we're in CapCut. Take a look at the timeline. I ended up with 5 shots total, and I trimmed each one, sped some up, to make the whole thing feel dynamic and engaging. I had to change the first keyframe. If you remember, the guy had his hand raised, but Kling just couldn't animate that moment properly. So I lowered the arm, and from there, all kinds of magic happens. The world gets sucked into his hand, and so on. His hand transforms, a flower appears. In short, there was a ton of work in CapCut. I also added various sound effects and generated music using an AI video tool. So yeah, that's what my process looks like. If you want to see the final result, head over to my profile and check it out. See you!